In the year 3057, humanity had finally taken its place among the stars. After centuries of hardship, war, and technological breakthroughs, Earth stood as a beacon of progress in the galaxy. Colonies stretched across dozens of star systems, and humanity's ingenuity had earned respect, even envy, from other species. But peace was fragile, and power always came at a price. Captain Ilara Vance stared out of the observation deck aboard her flagship, Aegis Dawn. The ship floated silently near the edge of human-controlled space, where tensions with alien neighbors often simmered just below boiling point. She was a tall woman with sharp features framed by short brown hair streaked with silver from years spent navigating both diplomatic corridors and battlefields. Her piercing blue eyes reflected determination, and tonight, unease. Earlier that day, Earth's ambassadors to the Galactic Council received devastating news. The Council, a coalition of older, more established alien civilizations, had imposed crippling sanctions on humanity. Trade routes were shut down, resources blocked, and expansion into unclaimed territories forbidden. Officially, these measures were meant to curb aggressive expansion by humans. Unofficially, everyone knew it was jealousy masked as policy. Ilara clenched her fists as she replayed the transmission in her mind. The Council's leader, an insectoid creature named Lord Zixthar, had sneered during the announcement. "Humans are like weeds," he'd said coldly. "They grow unchecked unless contained." His words echoed through the chamber, met with smirks from other council members. Humanity's pleas for fairness fell on deaf ears. But what happened next turned anger into fury. As Ilara reviewed reports from deep space patrols, one caught her attention. A distress signal from Epsilon 9, a remote mining colony populated mostly by families. Pirates, well-armed and highly organized, had attacked without warning. Ships destroyed, facilities burned, and survivors left stranded. It wasn't random violence. It was calculated cruelty. When rescue teams arrived hours later, they found evidence pointing to something far worse. Weapons used in the attack bore markings linked to factions secretly funded by the Galactic Council. This wasn't just piracy. It was a message. Submit or suffer. Back on Earth, outrage erupted. News feeds buzzed with images of devastated colonies and grieving families. People gathered in city squares, demanding justice. Even those who once doubted humanity's readiness to challenge the Council now called for action. President Ava Sterling addressed the nation from the capital city of New Geneva. Standing before a podium, flanked by holographic displays of burning colonies, she spoke with quiet resolve. "For too long, we've accepted their rules, bowed to their arrogance. No longer. If the Council believes fear will silence us, they underestimate the spirit of humanity." Her speech ended with a declaration of defiance. Sanctions would be ignored. Expansion would continue, and any further aggression against human settlements would be met with force. Ilara watched the broadcast aboard her ship, nodding slowly. She knew what this meant. War wasn't inevitable yet, but the path ahead was fraught with danger. As commander of the human defense fleet, she bore the weight of countless lives on her shoulders. Yet beneath the burden lay a spark of hope. For the first time, humanity faced oppression not with fear, but with unity. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson. Underestimating humanity was a mistake no one could afford to make twice. And so, the stage was set for conflict, for courage, and for a reckoning that would shake the stars themselves. The days following President Sterling's defiant speech were a whirlwind of activity. Across Earth and its colonies, factories roared to life, producing ships, weapons, and supplies at an unprecedented rate. People worked tirelessly, driven by a shared sense of purpose. The message was clear. Humanity would not back down. Captain Ilara Vance stood in the command center of Aegis Dawn, her eyes scanning holographic projections of star maps and fleet movements. Her crew moved around her with precision, each person focused on their task. Despite the chaos outside, there was an unspoken confidence within the ship, a belief that they could face whatever came next. But confidence alone wouldn't win this fight. Humanity needed more than courage. It needed a game-changer. Dr. Elias Cortez, a brilliant but eccentric scientist, had been working on just that. Known for his unconventional methods and relentless drive, Elias had spent years developing experimental technology in secret labs hidden beneath Earth's surface. His latest invention was something no one, least of all the Galactic Council, had anticipated: the harmonic disruptor. Elias arrived aboard Aegis Dawn late one evening, escorted by two security officers who seemed unsure whether to treat him as a genius or a loose cannon. He carried a small metallic device about the size of a briefcase, its surface etched with intricate circuits glowing faintly blue. "This," Elias said, placing the device on the table in front of Ilara, "is how we level the playing field." Ilara raised an eyebrow. "Level it how?" "The harmonic disruptor emits a frequency that interferes with quantum fields," Elias explained, his voice tinged with excitement. "It doesn't destroy ships, it disables them. Engines shut down, weapons go offline, shields collapse. And best of all, no loss of life." Ilara leaned forward, intrigued but cautious. "How reliable is it?" "It works," Elias replied firmly. "We've tested it extensively. But mass-producing it will take time. Right now, we only have prototypes." Time was a luxury humanity didn't have. Reports poured in daily of increased patrols near human borders, blockades tightening around key trade routes, and whispers of a massive council fleet assembling somewhere in deep space. The council wasn't just trying to contain humanity, they were preparing to crush it. Despite these challenges, hope spread like wildfire when news of the harmonic disruptor leaked. For the first time in weeks, people felt empowered. Social media buzzed with memes calling the device the galaxy's reset button. Protesters held up signs reading, "Harmony over oppression." Even skeptics couldn't deny the potential impact of such a weapon. Back on Earth, President Sterling wasted no time. She ordered every available resource redirected toward producing the disruptors. Factories once used to manufacture consumer goods now churned out components for the new technology. Scientists across the globe collaborated, sharing data and refining designs. It was a monumental effort, fueled by unity and desperation. Meanwhile, Ilara prepared for the immediate threat. With the disruptors still in production, humanity remained vulnerable. To buy time, she devised a bold strategy: hit-and-run tactics targeting the Council's supply lines. Using smaller, faster ships equipped with cloaking technology, her team would strike swiftly and vanish before reinforcements arrived. Her plan wasn't without risks. Each mission pushed her pilots to their limits, and any failure could expose humanity's weaknesses. But Ilara knew hesitation was costlier than action. Every successful raid weakened the Council's grip while boosting morale back home. As preparations continued, Ilara addressed her crew. Standing on the bridge of Aegis Dawn, she spoke with quiet determination. "They think we're weak because we choose peace over aggression. They think fear will break us. Let's show them what happens when you underestimate humanity." The room erupted in cheers, resolve hardening in every heart. Humanity might be outnumbered and outgunned, but they weren't out of options. Not yet. And so, under cover of darkness, the first wave of raids began. Ships slipped past enemy lines, striking vital targets and disappearing into the void. Each success brought humanity closer to survival, and perhaps eventual victory. For the first time in centuries, humanity saw itself not as victims, but as warriors united by purpose. And somewhere among the stars, the Council watched uneasily, realizing too late that they had awoken a sleeping giant. The Council's response to humanity's defiance was swift and brutal. Within days of President Sterling's speech, a massive fleet led by the dreadnought Ecliptica arrived in Earth's orbit. The ship was a monstrosity, a kilometer-long behemoth bristling with weapons and surrounded by smaller vessels like a swarm of angry insects. Its presence sent a clear message: submit or face annihilation. Captain Ilara Vance watched the blockade form from her command chair aboard Aegis Dawn. Her jaw tightened as sensor readings confirmed what she already feared. The Council wasn't bluffing. They were ready for war. But Ilara knew that meeting them head-on would be suicide. Humanity's forces were outnumbered 10-1. If they wanted to survive, they'd have to fight smarter, not harder. "We can't take them on directly," Ilara said, addressing her senior officers gathered around the holographic display. "But we don't need to. Their supply lines are stretched thin. Hit them where it hurts, cut off their resources." Her plan was risky but necessary. Using cloaked ships and hit-and-run tactics, her team would target key supply depots and convoys feeding the blockade. Each strike would weaken the Council's grip while buying precious time for the harmonic disruptors to be mass-produced. It wasn't just about survival. It was about proving humanity could fight back. The first mission fell to Lieutenant Marcus Kane, a hotshot pilot known for his daring maneuvers. Leading a squadron of sleek fighters called Shadowhawks, Marcus slipped past enemy patrols under cover of darkness. His target, a supply depot orbiting Jupiter's moon Europa, stocked with fuel reserves vital to the Council's operations. As Marcus approached the depot, his heart raced. The Council hadn't expected resistance this far out, but their defenses were still formidable. Automated turrets scanned the void, and patrol ships circled like vultures. One wrong move, and the entire operation would fail. "Stay sharp," Marcus whispered over the comms. "We get in, disable the facility, and get out. No heroics." The squadron activated their stealth systems, slipping through the perimeter undetected. With pinpoint accuracy, they deployed EMP charges at critical points throughout the depot. The resulting explosion lit up the darkness, sending shockwaves rippling through space. By the time Council reinforcements arrived, the depot was nothing more than drifting debris. Back on Aegis Dawn, cheers erupted as news of the successful raid spread. Ilara allowed herself a small smile, but only for a moment. This was just the beginning. Over the next week, similar missions struck across human-controlled space. Fuel refineries, weapon caches, and communication relays fell victim to humanity's guerrilla tactics. Each victory dealt a blow to the Council's morale while boosting spirits back home. News of the raids dominated broadcasts, inspiring people to work harder, faster, and longer to support the war effort. But not everyone celebrated. Lord Zixthar, leader of the Galactic Council, seethed with rage. He had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now he paid the price. In a hastily convened meeting aboard Ecliptica, he lashed out at his subordinates. "How is this possible? We outnumber them, outclass them, yet they humiliate us at every turn." His advisors offered excuses, blaming unforeseen factors and calling for reinforcements. But deep down, Zixthar knew the truth. Humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to prove something. To themselves, and to the galaxy. Ilara understood this better than anyone. As she reviewed footage of the latest raid, she felt a surge of pride. These weren't just soldiers following orders. They were ordinary men and women stepping up when it mattered most. Farmers turned pilots, engineers turned tacticians, families working together to protect their future. Yet, even amidst the victories, Ilara remained cautious. Every raid pushed the Council closer to desperation, and desperate enemies made dangerous decisions. She reminded her crew to stay vigilant, knowing the real battle lay ahead. For now, though, humanity had struck its first blow. The Council's blockade wavered, their arrogance shaken. And somewhere among the stars, hope began to flicker, a tiny flame defying the darkness. It was enough to keep fighting for. As humanity's guerrilla tactics continued to disrupt the Council's operations, cracks began to form within the Galactic Council itself. Not all member species shared Zixthar's hatred for humans or his willingness to wage war. Some saw humanity's defiance as a reflection of their own struggles against oppression. Others simply resented being dragged into a conflict they didn't agree with. Among these dissenters were the Valens, an empathic race known for their ability to sense emotions across vast distances. Their ambassador, Calorin, had grown increasingly uneasy with the escalating violence. Tall and slender, with shimmering skin that shifted colors based on mood, Calorin radiated calm even in the most chaotic moments. But beneath his serene exterior lay a deep unease. Late one night, aboard his private vessel hidden in the shadow of Saturn's rings, Calorin made a decision that would change everything. Activating a secure communication channel, he reached out to Captain Ilara Vance. The message was brief but clear. "I wish to speak. Alone." Ilara hesitated. Trusting an alien, even one who seemed sympathetic, was risky. Yet, something about Calorin's tone struck her as genuine. After consulting with President Sterling, she agreed to meet him at a neutral location, an abandoned asteroid mining station drifting in the Kuiper Belt. When Ilara arrived, accompanied by a small escort, Calorin greeted her with a bow. His iridescent skin glowed softly, reflecting his sincerity. "Captain Vance," he said, his voice melodic yet firm, "the Council has gone too far. Their actions are not just cruel, they are self-destructive. I cannot stand idly by while innocent lives are lost." Ilara studied him carefully. "Why come to us? What do you want?" "I offer intelligence," Calorin replied. "Information on the Council's plans, troop movements, and weaknesses. In return, I ask only for protection when this war ends. My people, we seek freedom from the Council's tyranny." The offer was tempting, but dangerous. Accepting help from a Council member could be seen as betrayal or manipulation. Still, Ilara knew humanity needed every advantage it could get. After ensuring the information checked out, she accepted Calorin's proposal, vowing to keep his involvement secret, for now. Meanwhile, back on Earth, tensions mounted as sabotage struck at the heart of humanity's efforts. A key production facility for the harmonic disruptors suffered a catastrophic explosion, killing dozens and setting progress back weeks. Investigations revealed the unthinkable. Someone inside humanity's ranks was leaking information to the Council. The revelation sent shockwaves through leadership. Paranoia spread like wildfire. Were there more traitors? Could anyone be trusted? Ilara found herself questioning everyone around her, even close allies. She ordered heightened security measures and launched an internal investigation, determined to root out the mole before further damage occurred. Despite these setbacks, morale remained high thanks to the ongoing success of the raids. Each strike weakened the Council's blockade and inspired hope among the colonies. People cheered as news of victories poured in, celebrating heroes like Lieutenant Marcus Kane, whose daring missions became legendary. But behind the scenes, the pressure weighed heavily on Ilara. Balancing trust with suspicion wasn't easy, especially when lives hung in the balance. Every decision felt like walking a tightrope over an abyss. Yet, she refused to let doubt consume her. Humanity needed strength now more than ever. Calorin's intelligence proved invaluable. Thanks to his data, Ilara identified a critical weakness in the Council's supply chain. A massive convoy transporting advanced weaponry destined for Ecliptica. If destroyed, it would cripple the Council's offensive capabilities. With time running out and the Council growing desperate, Ilara prepared for what might be her boldest move yet. As Aegis Dawn slipped into position, she addressed her crew, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "This is our chance," she said. "Let's show them exactly what humanity is capable of." For the first time, the Council faced a real threat, not just from humanity's weapons, but from its unity. And somewhere among the stars, alliances shifted, betrayals unfolded, and the galaxy held its breath, waiting to see who would emerge victorious. The convoy identified by Calorin's intelligence was humanity's golden opportunity, and Captain Ilara Vance wasn't about to let it slip away. The massive fleet transporting advanced weaponry to the Council's flagship, Ecliptica, represented a lifeline for their enemy. Destroying it would deal a crippling blow to the blockade and buy humanity more time to prepare for the final showdown. Ilara stood on the bridge of Aegis Dawn, staring at the holographic map projected before her. The convoy was en route to Proxima Centauri, where a critical relay station controlled communications between the Council's member worlds. If humanity could seize control of that station, they'd cut off the Council's ability to coordinate its forces. It was a risky plan, but one worth pursuing. "We'll split into 2 teams," Ilara announced to her senior officers. "Team 1 will ambush the convoy near Proxima. Team 2 will infiltrate the relay station and disable it from within. Timing is everything. If we're too slow or too fast, this whole operation falls apart." Lieutenant Marcus Kane raised his hand, grinning. "Permission to lead Team 2, Captain." Ilara smirked. "You read my mind, Lieutenant. You've got the infiltration team. Don't screw it up." Preparations began immediately. Ships were refitted, weapons calibrated, and crews briefed. Every person aboard Aegis Dawn understood the stakes. Failure meant disaster. Success meant hope. Hours later, under the cover of darkness, Team 1, led by Ilara herself, positioned itself along the convoy's predicted trajectory. Cloaked ships drifted silently in formation, waiting like predators stalking prey. As the Council's vessels came into view, their bulk illuminated faintly by distant stars, Ilara gave the signal. "Engage." The ambush erupted with shocking speed. Human fighters swarmed the convoy, targeting engines and disabling shields. Explosions lit up the void as missiles struck true, sending supply ships spiraling out of control. Chaos reigned among the Council forces, caught completely off guard. Meanwhile, Team 2 approached the relay station unnoticed. Marcus guided his squad through narrow corridors lined with alien technology, moving swiftly toward the central control hub. Resistance was light. A skeleton crew hadn't expected trouble, but every second counted. Back in space, Ilara fought fiercely to hold the line. Enemy reinforcements arrived sooner than anticipated, forcing her fleet into a desperate defensive stance. Outnumbered and outgunned, the humans relied on clever maneuvers and sheer determination to survive. "Captain," shouted Ensign Tarek from the sensors console, "we're losing fighters. They're breaking through." Ilara clenched her teeth, sweat beading on her forehead. "Fall back to Formation Delta. Protect the escape routes. We can't lose anyone else." As the battle raged outside, Marcus reached the control hub inside the relay station. With seconds to spare, he activated a virus designed to scramble the station's systems. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and then silence fell. The station was dead. "Mission accomplished, Captain," Marcus reported over comms. "Relay station is offline." Ilara exhaled sharply, relief washing over her face. "Good work, Lieutenant. Now get your team out of there. We're pulling back." With the relay station disabled, the Council's coordination faltered. Reinforcements stumbled into disarray, giving humanity the opening they needed to retreat intact. Though battered and bruised, the human fleet escaped with minimal losses. News of the victory spread quickly, igniting celebrations across Earth and its colonies. For the first time, humanity had proven it could stand toe-to-toe with the Council and win. The Battle of Proxima became legend, a symbol of courage and ingenuity. But Ilara knew better than to celebrate prematurely. The Council wouldn't take this defeat lying down. Retaliation was inevitable. Still, as she gazed at the glowing image of Proxima Centauri, now firmly under humanity's influence, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Humanity had struck another blow, for freedom, for unity, and for survival. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had shown it wasn't afraid to fight for its place among the stars. The victory at Proxima Centauri sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Humanity's audacity had not only crippled the Council's supply chain, but also exposed their vulnerabilities to the universe. For years, the Galactic Council had ruled with an iron grip, enforcing its will through fear and manipulation. But now, cracks were beginning to form in that facade, and rebellion stirred among the stars. On distant worlds oppressed by the Council's tyranny, whispers of dissent grew louder. The Valens, inspired by Kelleran's public denouncement of the Council, led the charge. Their ambassador appeared on interstellar broadcasts, his shimmering skin glowing brighter than ever as he declared, "Enough is enough. The Council has betrayed its own principles. It is time for a new era, one where all species stand equal." Other races followed suit. The insectoid Cytherians, long forced into servitude by the Council, rose up against their overseers. Colonies of the aquatic Nereids cut off trade routes, refusing to support the war effort. Even some Council-aligned factions wavered, questioning whether humanity's defiance was worth the cost of continued conflict. Back on Earth, President Ava Sterling seized the moment. She addressed the galaxy in a historic speech, calling for unity and cooperation. "We are not your enemies," she said, her voice steady yet passionate. "We seek peace, progress, and partnership. Join us in building a future free from oppression, or step aside while we forge it ourselves." Her words resonated deeply, especially among those who had suffered under the Council's rule. Diplomatic envoys from newly liberated planets began arriving on Earth, seeking alliances with humanity. Factories once used solely for human production expanded to include resources and technology shared by these emerging allies. Slowly but surely, a coalition formed, a united front challenging the Council's dominance. Yet not everyone welcomed this shift. Lord Zixthar, humiliated by repeated defeats, lashed out in rage during an emergency council meeting aboard Ecliptica. "This is unacceptable," he screeched, slamming his claws onto the table. "Humanity must be eradicated before they inspire more rebellion." His advisors murmured nervously, divided between fear of further losses and anger over their crumbling authority. Some suggested suing for peace, others demanded total annihilation. The Council, once a unified force, splintered into factions, each pursuing its own agenda. Amidst this chaos, Ilara Vance prepared for what lay ahead. The harmonic disruptors were nearly ready for mass deployment, giving humanity a decisive edge in any future engagements. Yet, she remained cautious. Intelligence reports indicated that rogue elements within the Council remnants were planning one final assault, an all-out invasion of Earth itself. "We need to stay vigilant," Ilara told her crew during a briefing aboard Aegis Dawn. "They're desperate, and desperate enemies make reckless decisions. We've won battles, but the war isn't over." Despite the looming threat, hope burned brighter than ever. Across human colonies, people worked tirelessly to strengthen defenses and prepare for whatever came next. Families gathered around screens, watching footage of liberated worlds celebrating their newfound freedom. Songs and stories of heroes like Marcus Kane and Dr. Elias Cortez spread far and wide, inspiring courage in even the darkest corners of the galaxy. Kelleran, meanwhile, continued to assist humanity covertly. His intelligence proved invaluable in predicting Council movements and rallying rebel factions. Though his actions put him at great personal risk, he remained steadfast. "My people have suffered too long under their rule," he told Ilara during a private meeting. "If this rebellion succeeds, we can build something better, together." As preparations intensified, humanity found strength not just in weapons or technology, but in unity. The galaxy watched, holding its breath, as two forces collided, one clinging desperately to power, the other fighting for a brighter future. And somewhere among the stars, the seeds of rebellion took root, spreading hope, defiance, and the promise of change. The Council's final assault came without warning, a storm of destruction descending upon humanity's homeworld. Earth's solar system, Sol, was humanity's heart, and Lord Zixthar intended to crush it utterly. Overnight, the skies above Earth lit up with the ominous glow of enemy fleets emerging from hyperspace. Hundreds of ships, each bristling with weapons, surrounded the planet like wolves circling prey. Captain Ilara Vance stood on the bridge of Aegis Dawn, her jaw clenched as she watched sensor readings flood in. "They're here," she said quietly, her voice cutting through the tension. "Everything we fought for comes down to this." Humanity had known an attack was coming, but nothing could have prepared them for the sheer scale of the invasion. The Council had thrown everything they had left into this assault, determined to erase humanity once and for all. Cities burned as orbital bombardments rained fire from above. Colonies on Mars and Europa fell quickly, their defenses overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Panic spread among civilians, but even amidst chaos, there was defiance. People refused to surrender, not after everything they'd sacrificed. Ilara's fleet moved swiftly, engaging the invaders in brutal dogfights across the void. Fighters darted between massive dreadnoughts, dodging plasma blasts while unleashing salvos of missiles. Every shot fired carried the weight of survival. Every life lost steeled their resolve. Lieutenant Marcus Kane led daring strafing runs against enemy carriers, buying precious time for reinforcements to arrive. Back on Earth, President Ava Sterling addressed what remained of the global population. Standing in a bunker beneath New Geneva, her face illuminated by flickering lights, she spoke with unwavering determination. "This is our home," she declared. "Our cradle of civilization. They may destroy our cities, but they will never break our spirit. Stand firm, for yourselves, for your families, and for the future of humanity." Her words echoed across communication channels, rallying soldiers and civilians alike. Factories continued producing weapons and supplies despite the bombardment, workers risking their lives to keep humanity's war machine running. In space, newly arrived rebel allies joined the fight, tipping the balance ever so slightly in humanity's favor. But the cost was staggering. Ships exploded in fiery bursts, debris scattering across the void. Pilots screamed over comms as their vessels were torn apart. And yet, humanity held the line. Each sacrifice fueled their determination to protect Earth at all costs. Finally, the moment arrived. Dr. Elias Cortez confirmed that the harmonic disruptors were ready for deployment. Aboard Aegis Dawn, Ilara gave the order. "Activate the disruptors." The first wave of quantum pulses rippled outward, invisible but devastating. Enemy ships shuddered as engines died. Shields collapsed and weapons went offline. One by one, Council vessels floated powerless in space, their crews trapped inside. Cheers erupted aboard human ships as the tide turned decisively in their favor. Zixthar, aboard his flagship Ecliptica, watched in horror as his forces unraveled. His claws dug into the armrest of his command chair, fury boiling within him. "Impossible," he roared. "How could they?" Before he could finish, alarms blared throughout the ship. The disruptor pulse reached Ecliptica, disabling its systems. For the first time in centuries, the mighty dreadnought was rendered helpless. Above Earth, the skies began to clear. Council ships drifted aimlessly, defeated. Humanity's defenders regrouped, battered but victorious. Ilara stepped onto the bridge's observation deck, gazing out at the wreckage littering orbit. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of pride. Against impossible odds, humanity had prevailed. As news of the victory spread, celebrations erupted across surviving colonies. The siege had ended, but scars would remain. Earth bore the marks of devastation, and countless lives had been lost. Yet in those moments of triumph, humanity realized something profound. They weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for unity, resilience, and hope. The defeat at Sol shattered the Galactic Council's unity like glass. What remained of their once mighty coalition fractured into chaos, with member races turning on each other in a desperate scramble for survival and blame. Lord Zixthar, humiliated and enraged, tried to rally his allies aboard the powerless Ecliptica, but his words fell on deaf ears. The council he had ruled with an iron grip was no longer a cohesive force. It was a crumbling empire consumed by infighting. "Your incompetence led us here," screamed Ambassador Velazor, a reptilian council member whose species had suffered heavy losses during the siege. Her scaled hands slammed against the conference table, her voice dripping with venom. "You promised victory, Zixthar, and instead, you delivered ruin." Zixthar's mandibles twitched in fury, but before he could respond, another counselor interrupted. "Enough," bellowed Thalner, a hulking quadruped alien representing the industrialized Grexians. His deep growl silenced the room. "Blame solves nothing. Humanity has proven they are not to be underestimated. If we continue this war, it will destroy us all." The debate raged for hours, devolving into accusations and threats. Some called for immediate surrender to humanity. Others demanded retaliation, even if it meant sacrificing their own worlds. Amidst the turmoil, one thing became clear: the Council's days were numbered. Meanwhile, Calorin stepped forward publicly, calling for the dissolution of the Council entirely. In a historic broadcast transmitted across the galaxy, the Valen ambassador declared, "The Council was built on fear and oppression. Its fall is an opportunity, a chance to create something better. A new alliance where every species, including humanity, has equal say." His words resonated deeply, especially among oppressed planets that had long suffered under the Council's rule. Revolts erupted on dozens of worlds as populations rose up against their overlords. The Nereids flooded Council-controlled trade routes, cutting off vital resources. Even some factions within the Council defected openly, pledging loyalty to humanity's cause. Back on Earth, President Ava Sterling seized the moment. She convened an emergency summit aboard Unity Station, a neutral orbital platform hastily constructed from salvaged materials. Representatives from liberated planets, rebel factions, and former Council members gathered to discuss the future of the galaxy. It was a tense meeting, fraught with mistrust, but Sterling kept the focus on hope. "We have a choice," she said, addressing the assembly. "We can rebuild what was broken, or we can forge something new, something fair, something lasting." Ilara Vance attended the summit alongside Dr. Elias Cortez, both serving as advisors. As leaders debated terms of peace and cooperation, Ilara couldn't help but feel uneasy. Not everyone shared humanity's vision of unity. Rogue elements loyal to the old Council plotted in secret, vowing revenge. Intelligence reports hinted at shadowy movements near uncharted sectors of space, remnants gathering strength for one last stand. Still, progress was undeniable. Agreements were signed, alliances formed, and plans laid for a new galactic order. Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, now stood as a leader among equals. Factories reopened under joint management, colonies rebuilt with shared resources, and communication networks restored to connect distant stars. But beneath the surface, tension simmered. Old grudges lingered and power vacuums created opportunities for chaos. As Calorin warned privately to Ilara, peace is fragile. Trust takes time to grow, and enemies never truly disappear. For now, though, the galaxy breathed easier. Humanity had fought not just for survival, but for change. And while scars of war would remain, so too would the promise of a brighter tomorrow. As Ilara gazed out at the stars from Unity Station's observation deck, she felt a mix of pride and caution. The battle might be over, but the struggle for harmony had only begun. Somewhere in the void, unseen forces waited, and humanity would need to stay vigilant to protect the fragile peace they had won. In the aftermath of the Council's collapse, humanity found itself thrust into a role it had never anticipated. Leadership. The galaxy was in shambles. Planets ravaged by decades of oppression, trade routes disrupted, and billions displaced. Yet amidst the chaos, there was hope. For the first time in centuries, oppressed species dared to dream of freedom, and humanity stood ready to help them rebuild. Captain Ilara Vance transitioned from warrior to diplomat, tasked with overseeing reconstruction efforts alongside President Sterling. Her days were no longer filled with battle strategies, but with negotiations, resource allocations, and peacekeeping missions. It was an unfamiliar role, one that tested her patience as much as her resolve. Unity Station became the heart of this new galactic order, a symbol of collaboration where representatives from dozens of species worked together to forge a better future. Factories once used for war now produced supplies for rebuilding colonies. Engineers from different races shared knowledge, creating technologies that benefited everyone. Slowly but surely, life began returning to worlds left barren by conflict. Yet not all progress came easily. Old wounds ran deep, and distrust lingered among former enemies. On some planets, resistance groups refused to lay down arms, fearing betrayal or retribution. Others clung to hatred of humanity, blaming them for dismantling the Council's rule, even though that rule had been cruel and unjust. Ilara faced these challenges head-on. She traveled across the galaxy, mediating disputes and fostering alliances. In one instance, she brokered peace between two warring factions on the planet Xitharus Prime, whose insectoid inhabitants had long been divided over territory. Sitting cross-legged in their underground hive city, surrounded by towering spires of bioluminescent fungi, Ilara listened patiently as leaders argued. When tempers flared, she reminded them of a simple truth: hatred keeps us stuck in the past. Unity builds the future. Her words resonated, earning respect even from skeptics. Over time, stories of her fairness spread, solidifying humanity's reputation as peacemakers rather than conquerors. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Dr. Elias Cortez turned his brilliance toward healing instead of warfare. He adapted the harmonic disruptor technology to repair damaged ecosystems, restoring oxygen levels on planets rendered uninhabitable by industrial exploitation. His innovations gave rise to thriving forests, clean oceans, and skies free of pollution. People marveled at how tools designed for destruction could also bring renewal. But shadows loomed on the horizon. Intelligence reports revealed rogue elements loyal to the old Council gathering in uncharted regions of space. These remnants, calling themselves the Iron Concord, vowed to reclaim power by any means necessary. Their leader, a mysterious figure known only as the Architect, issued cryptic broadcasts warning of humanity's downfall. "They think they've won," whispered Calorin during a private meeting with Ilara aboard Unity Station. But the Iron Concord grows stronger every day. They are patient, cunning. This isn't over. Ilara nodded grimly. "We can't let fear paralyze us. We'll stay vigilant while we continue rebuilding. If they come, we'll be ready." Despite the looming threat, humanity pressed forward. Schools reopened on liberated worlds, teaching children about cooperation instead of conquest. Artists painted murals celebrating unity, blending styles from countless cultures. Musicians composed symphonies inspired by the resilience of those who endured war. President Sterling addressed the galaxy one final time before stepping down from office, her voice steady yet emotional. "We have faced darkness and emerged stronger because of it. Together, we will build a future worth fighting for, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come." As Ilara watched the broadcast aboard Aegis Dawn, she felt a mix of pride and unease. Humanity had achieved what many thought impossible, uniting fractured stars under a banner of hope. But she knew peace was fragile, especially when enemies lurked in the shadows. For now, though, the galaxy breathed easier. Humanity had proven its strength, not through domination, but through compassion and courage. And somewhere among the stars, whispers of rebellion stirred, waiting for their chance to strike. The fight wasn't truly over, but humanity was ready. The galaxy had changed. Once ruled by fear and oppression, it now stood on the brink of a new era. An era defined not by conquest, but by cooperation. Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, had risen to become its guardians. Yet, as Captain Ilara Vance gazed out at the stars from Unity Station's observation deck, she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. Unity Station itself had become a beacon of hope. Its gleaming halls buzzed with activity as representatives from dozens of species worked side by side, drafting treaties, sharing resources, and planning for a brighter future. Schools taught children about unity instead of division. Artists painted murals celebrating collaboration, and scientists pooled knowledge to tackle challenges no single race could face alone. Humanity wasn't just leading, it was inspiring. But shadows lingered in the void. The Iron Concord, remnants of the old Council loyalists, continued to grow stronger in secret. Their leader, the architect, remained an enigma, a ghost haunting the edges of known space. Intelligence reports hinted at hidden bases, stolen technology, and whispers of a weapon capable of undoing everything humanity had built. Ilara knew they couldn't ignore the threat forever. She gathered her senior officers aboard Aegis Dawn for one final briefing before embarking on a mission deep into uncharted territory. "We've come too far to let fear stop us," she said, her voice firm yet calm. "If the Concord wants war, we'll meet them head-on. But we won't do it alone. We'll bring every ally who believes in this new future." Kellerin joined the mission, his shimmering skin glowing faintly as he shared vital intelligence. "The Concord sees itself as saviors of the old order," he explained. "To them, humanity represents chaos, a disruption to their vision of control. They will not stop until you are erased." The mission took them to a desolate region of space known as the Veil, a vast expanse shrouded in cosmic dust and electromagnetic interference. Sensors struggled to penetrate the haze, forcing the fleet to rely on manual navigation. Tension mounted as ships drifted silently through the darkness, searching for signs of the enemy. Finally, they found it. A massive fortress hidden within an asteroid field, bristling with weapons and shielded by advanced technology. It was clear the Concord intended to strike at the heart of humanity's alliance. Ilara gave the order without hesitation. "Deploy the disruptors. Disable their defenses. We take this base intact." The battle that followed was fierce but decisive. Human fighters darted between asteroids, drawing fire while larger vessels positioned themselves for optimal strikes. When the harmonic disruptors activated, the fortress's systems faltered, leaving it vulnerable. Boarding parties led by Lieutenant Marcus Kane stormed the facility, capturing key personnel and securing critical data. Among the captives was the architect, a former council scientist who had orchestrated much of the Concord's resurgence. As Ilara confronted him, she saw not malice, but desperation in his eyes. "You think you've won," he spat bitterly. "But the galaxy is vast, unpredictable. You cannot control it." Ilara leaned closer, her voice steady. "We don't want to control it. We want to protect it from people like you." With the base secured and the Concord crippled, the immediate threat was neutralized. Back on Unity Station, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. Humanity had proven once again that unity was its greatest strength. In her closing address, President Sterling reminded everyone of the road ahead. "This isn't the end. It's the beginning. Together, we'll face whatever comes next, knowing we're stronger united than divided." As Ilara watched the galaxy spin silently beyond the station's windows, she felt a quiet pride. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. And though challenges lay ahead, she knew they were ready. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy held its breath, not in fear, but in hope. Somewhere in the void, new dangers waited, but humanity would stand vigilant, protecting the fragile peace they had fought so hard to build. They were no longer weeds, they were roots, anchoring the galaxy in unity and resilience. And the stars shone brighter because of it.